To close out a month of really fun trade videos, I thought we would look at perhaps the rarest trades of them all. Trades between rivals. It's inherently risky to deal away players within your own division because if things go awry, you're going to be seeing a whole lot of your ghosts. Many teams don't even bother taking the risk of making these deals, even if that deal is the best one on the table. The Mets and the Braves haven't gotten a deal done together since 2015. Both the Cubs and the Cardinals and the Dodgers and Giants haven't made trades together since 2007, 15 years ago. But there are plenty of good recent examples of this phenomenon as well. Jeffrey Springs went from a no-name in the Red Sox organization to a hefty extension with the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rangers found their catcher of the future, Jonah Heim, thanks to a salary dump deal with the Oakland A's. There was the ugliness of the Mariners and Astros swap back in 2021, where a contending Seattle team dealt away two promising bullpen pieces, one being Rafael Montero, who just signed another deal to stay in Houston. Today, we're going to look back at the most significant trades between rivals in the past 30 years of baseball, and with the hindsight given, judge who came out on the other side as the victor. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video. Also ring the bell for all future notifications so you don't miss a single Jolly Olive video. Back in 1996, the Blue Jays, who were a few years removed from winning back-to-back World Series, signed Roger Clemens to a 4-year contract worth $40 million. Clemens lived up to the paycheck, dominating in 2 seasons for Toronto, winning American League Cy Young in 1996 and 1997. He led the league in strikeouts, earned run average, and wins in both of those years in what likely can be considered the peak of his illustrious career. And yeah, he probably got some, let's say, pharmaceutical help to achieve those numbers. The thing is, the rest of Toronto's team was failing around his success. The Blue Jays fell 10 games under 500 in his first year, then went 10 games over 500 in his second year, but still failed to reach the playoffs. Clemens requested a trade after his second consecutive Cy Young season, putting Toronto in position to get a prime haul for his services. The thing that shocked everyone was the trade partner they eventually settled on, the New York Yankees. The Yankees were coming off one of the greatest regular seasons of all time with 114 wins en route to another World Series victory. Adding Roger Clemens to a rotation already consisting of Andy Pettitte, David Cone, and El Duque was certainly a Death Star move. But it wasn't going to come cheaply. In return, the Yankees dealt from their starting pitching depth, sending David Wells north of the border alongside Homer Bush and Graham Lloyd. Wells 8 innings and recorded pitcher wins, but he wasn't nearly the same pitcher he was in the Bronx as he was in Toronto. A 20-win season in 2000 helped him finish 3rd in Cy Young voting, but he led the American League in hits allowed both seasons and left Toronto with a cumulative ERA of 4.47 over 2 seasons as the Blue Jays flipped him again after the 2000 year for another package of prospects that never really worked out. As for Bush and Lloyd, the former was blocked by Derek Jeter and Chuck Knobloch in New York and finally got regular playing time with the Jays. He hit .320 his first year there, but could never stay consistently healthy, getting released in 2002. Lloyd, coming off a fantastic year in the bullpen for the Yankees, was fine for the Blue Jays, though he pitched just 1 season before hitting free agency after 1999. As for Roger Clemens, I'm pretty sure most of us are familiar with the story there. Clemens and the Yankees won 2 more World Series in his first 2 seasons there, and though he never had a year in New York as dominant as his seasons with the Blue Jays, he did show up when it mattered most. Under the lights of the Fall Classic with the Yankees, he had 5 starts, 3 wins, and a 1.5 ERA over the course of 5 years. Overall, the split of wins above replacement tilts in the Yankees' favor, but the far bigger victories were the World Series wins they acquired. Still, 19.7 wins above replacement from 1999 onward for Roger Clemens, and just 11.7 beat WAR combined between the 3 pieces that Toronto got back. Let's keep things in the American League East, but rock out with 2 different teams. After their discovery of Andrew Miller's dominance in a reliever role versus a starter role, the tall lefty helped the Boston Red Sox win the 2013 World Series. But just a year after that victory, the 2014 squad was mediocre, with a record 12 games under 500 at that year's deadline. Their division rival, though, the Baltimore Orioles, were on their way up and fighting for an AL East division crown. With a stable rotation, the O's wanted to add one more head to their 2-headed monster of Zach Britton and Darren O'Day in the bullpen. Andrew Miller was a rental, but his 2.34 ERA to that point made his price heftier than most. In the end, the Orioles acquired him for starting pitching prospect Eduardo Rodriguez. Miller was exceptional in 20 innings that second half, and he also tossed 7 1/3 shutout playoff innings with only 1 hit allowed. The Orioles advanced to the American League Championship Series, but ended up getting swept by the Royals, only for Andrew Miller to sign with another division rival in the New York Yankees, who gave him a 4-year deal worth $36 million. The Orioles really got the short end here, not only because of Miller joining the Yankees, but also because of how Erod panned out for the Red Sox. Rodriguez pitched in Boston for 6 seasons, peaking in 2019 with a 6th place Cy Young finish thanks to over 200 strikeouts and a league-leading 34 games started. He's now building another Cy Young campaign with his new team, the Tigers, but in terms of wins above replacement exchange in this deal, the Red Sox blew out the Orioles, unsurprisingly. I'm sure it would have been worth it if Baltimore managed to go all the way in 2014, but alas, the Red Sox come out the victors here. The Orioles and the Red Sox are division rivals, but I'm not sure the bad blood goes beyond that. If we want to talk about a real venomous matchup, we don't have to look much further than the Dodgers and the Padres. They have already put on their own fireworks this season, coming off the heels of their National League Division Series matchup, though I think San Diego's antics might have placed a curse on their own team. Suffice to say, these two teams haven't organized a substantial trade together in a very long time. You'd have to go back to 2015 to find a prime example, back when the Padres initiated their first mass signing spree to try and get back into contention. If you remember correctly, this free agent frenzy didn't go very well for them, but one of the key moves that kicked it off was trading for outfielder Matt Kemp from their divisional foe. Matt Kemp was a two-time All-Star, Gold Glove, and Silver Slugger in Los Angeles, 3 years removed from a National League MVP runner-up finish, and coming off a season where he registered a 140 OPS+. With 2 years of control, he appeared as the new cornerstone piece in the Padres' reformed lineup. The Padres had won the offseason, but not the regular season. Kemp did his part with the bat at least, achieving a pair of seasons with 30 doubles and 100 RBIs while also hitting the first cycle in San Diego's history. But Kemp was past his prime years with the Dodgers, and with the mid-2010s Padres completely imploding, they decided to trade him in the middle of the 2016 season to the Atlanta Braves. It probably didn't help heal the wound when Matt Kemp returned to Los Angeles in 2018 and ended up making the All-Star team again. As for the aforementioned trade, the Padres gave up a haul to get Kemp's services. The two key pieces here were catcher Yasmani Grandal and starting pitcher Zach Eflin. Los Angeles flipped Eflin for Jimmy Rollins before they could see him turn into a quality major league starter, but they got the best years out of Yasmani Grandal. He hit 89 home runs in 4 seasons for the Dodgers, making the All-Star team in 2015 and receiving MVP votes in 2016. With his prowess, the Dodgers ended up getting 10 more wins worth of value over the Padres thanks to this deal, not even counting the WAR they got when Kemp came back just a couple short seasons later. The narrative could certainly change this decade, but to this point, the Dodgers have been Big Brother. Let's keep things in the National League and head over to the East Coast. It wouldn't be a proper trade video if we didn't mention one of the many selling trades the Marlins have had throughout their short history. In one of their more recent fire sales back in the offseason going into 2019, the Marlins stripped down a core of Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna, and then a year later, catcher JT Realmuto as well. The backstop was coming off his first career All-Star season where he hit 21 home runs with 30 doubles and a 126 OPS+, and had completed an impressive 5-year run as one of the better catchers in the National League. With the state of the team in disarray, Realmuto requested a trade, and the surprising partner the Marlins found happened to also play in the National League East. Coming off a 500 season, the Phillies improved their lineup and defense dramatically with the acquisition of JT Realmuto, though it would cost them the number 13 prospect in baseball, Sixto Sanchez, as well as their promising young backstop Jorge Alfaro. JT has continued to prosper as a Philly and is now considered a top 3, maybe even the best catcher in all of baseball. He made the All-Star team while also winning a Gold Glove and Silver Slugger in his first season in the red pinstripes, and he achieved a 20 home run, 20 stolen base season at the catcher position last season, finishing 7th in National League MVP voting. He's hit 75 home runs in a 4-year span with a 117 OPS+ in that time, not to mention the 3 bombs he hit on Philly's run to the World Series last season. Safe to say, the price was worth it for Philadelphia here. As for the Marlins haul, Sixto Sanchez dominated in the 2020 pandemic season and helped Miami return to the playoffs. He even outdueled Yu Darvish and the Cubs in the wildcard round, but he hasn't seen much playing time since, battling injuries for the better part of 3 years now. Jorge Alfaro only played 1 real full season with the Marlins, with an 82 OPS+ in over 250 games in Florida. The offense first catcher never really hit, and he got cut after the 2021 season. Even just 4 years removed from this deal, the Phillies already hold 14 more wins above replacement over their division rival's head, and you gotta wonder why the Marlins even disbanded this core in the first place. This next one is a doozy. Cliff Lee was one of the best pitchers of the 2000s, yet he got traded more than basically any other ace in baseball history. In 2009, the Cleveland Indians traded the Cy Young winner to Philadelphia for a prospect haul, and Lee helped that team win the National League pennant. In an absolute shock though, the Phillies turned around and traded him again that offseason when they were able to acquire Roy Halladay from the Blue Jays to replace him. Cliff Lee began 2010 as a Seattle Mariner, and to his credit, he put up ace-like numbers in both years despite constantly changing uniforms. In Seattle, Lee managed a 2.34 ERA in over 100 innings and made the All-Star team. But with the Mariners going nowhere again, they too decided to trade Cliff Lee, and this time he'd be heading over to another pennant-winning team for the 2nd year in a row, one that happened to play in the same same division as the M's. The Texas Rangers acquired Cliff Lee to help them win their first American League West Division title in over a decade. It took a pretty sizable prospect package, including their coveted top first baseman prospect Justin Smoak, ranked number 13 in baseball at the time. Cliff Lee was as advertised for the Rangers, going 3-0 with 24 innings and just 2 earned runs allowed through the ALDS and ALCS. However, he crumbled in the World Series versus the Giants, losing both of his starts with an ERA over 6. That offseason, he went back home to the Phillies, signing a 5-year, $120 million contract. The Mariners looked poised to be the easy victor of this trade, with the Rangers failing to win the Fall Classic and Cliff Lee leaving shortly thereafter. But their prospects failed to pan out in a meaningful way. The key piece, Justin Smoak, posted a 97 OPS plus in a 4-year run in Seattle, plagued by strikeouts and defensive issues. He'd be an all-star later in his career for Toronto, but didn't live up to the potential the Mariners were hoping for. As for the rest of them, Blake Beavan, the number 18 ranked prospect that the Rangers dealt away, started 40 games in 2 years for some mediocre teams. Matt Lawson never made the major leagues, and Josh Lukey played mostly for the Rays. Needless to say, this package was a disaster for Seattle, equating to just 3.1 wins above replacement combined in a 5-year span, while the Rangers got over half of that in the half season alone that Lee was a part of their squad. Our last entry on this list isn't a divisional rivalry, but rather a crosstown rivalry. The Angels and Dodgers and Mets and Yankees have had interesting trades, but they pale in comparison to the lengthy trade history of our two Chicago teams. In prior trade videos, we detailed their recent swaps, like Jose Quintana crossing from the White Sox to the Cubs, or Craig Kimbrell hopping from the north side to the south side. But perhaps the most franchise-altering swap these two teams orchestrated goes back 30 years from this point. After finishing a few wins short of the playoffs in 1990 and 1991, the White Sox front office decided to push the envelope and make some win-now moves heading into 1992. Instead of waiting for their young outfield prospect from the Dominican Republic to further develop, the White Sox flipped 22-year-old Sammy Sosa to their crosstown counterpart to acquire all-star outfielder George Bell. He was coming off back-to-back 20-homer, 20-double all-star seasons, but the 32-year-old would fail to impress much in his tenure on the south side. He did receive MVP votes his first year there with a 25-home run, 100 RBI season, but was out of the league completely after 1993, registering negative 2.7 wins above replacement in his time with the White Sox. And as you can probably guess, things went a little bit differently for Sammy Sosa and the Cubs. It took him a few years to reach stardom, but Sosa evolved into one of the greatest sluggers in franchise and baseball history. He was a 2-time home run king, 2-time RBI king, 3-time hit king, won 6 Silver Sluggers, and made 7 All-Star teams. Obviously, there are some steroid-related asterisks that accompany Sosa's rise to stardom, but I think the White Sox gladly would have bared through the controversy if it meant reversing the decision and keeping Sosa, which likely would have changed the entirety of the 90s for them. Instead, they gave him to the other team in town, and though they never won it all with Sammy, the Cubs were about 60 wins better for it according to this war exchange. And those were the 6 trades I picked out between rivals. If I missed one, make sure you leave a comment down below, and if you enjoyed today's trade video, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the Jolly Olive channel. But before you go, let's hear a word from today's sponsor. Today's Jolly Olive video was brought to you by Shady Rays. Take on the summer sun with gear built to last. Premium polarized sunglasses. My friends over at Shady Rays have a wide selection of the best sunglasses you can find on the market right now. And if you are an absolute buffoon like I am and you break them, don't worry, they have a special warranty program. They will replace those bad boys. No questions asked, you'll get a free pair if you lose them or you break them. Durable frames, extremely clear optics. The selection is so nice, you're going to want to buy one twice. And right now, you can go to the Shady Rays website by clicking the link in our description or going to shadyrays.com. And right now, they got their Memorial Day sale going on, so you can get 35% off of all sunglasses. No code, no nothing. 35% off store-wide. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Don't miss out. Go get yourself a pair of Shady Rays right now. Click the link in the description. Have a great Memorial Day and do it wearing a pair of Shady Rays. Thank you to them for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you guys next week.